This is a demo of a new web tool. So first of all, hopefully everyone remembers where to find the web tool. So firmware.arduPilot.org/tools/web-tools. And then we're going to come down here to work in progress. And then down at the bottom, video overlay. So it's a tool to overlay log data on top of a video. So I'm going to add my video. So this is from our 32 Copter conference talk, the ArduPilot conference last year. And then I'm going to add my log, and you'll see that these widgets are automatically updating with data from the log. I'll just mute it. However, you might notice if we go back to the start that the log is not matching up. You see the HUD is moving here, but the vehicle hasn't even taken off in the video. So to fix that, we need to update this log offset value. So by default, you'll notice that the log starts at the beginning of the video. So because the log time is done in time since the flight controller booted up, this means that it was set for 712 seconds, after it booted up until it was armed, and then the log started. So the tool has a bit of a guess for you, such that the log starts at the beginning of the video. But obviously, if your video doesn't also start exactly when the log arms, there'll be a bit of a mismatch. So unfortunately, there's no fancy way of doing this. You just have to sort of manually align it and update this value. So you can use these arrows to go through frame by frame if I move to where something's happening a bit more obvious. So you can go frame by frame, or you can go +5 seconds, -5 seconds, just to try and get it to line up. And then you can adjust your offset here. So I won't do it now, but I have aligned this video previously, and I know that it needs an offset of 697.2 seconds, and then hopefully we see that the video and the log are now nicely lined up. So unfortunately, you do still have to do that a little bit manually. So we've got our video, we've got our log, then there's some overlay settings. So if you're used to telemetry dashboard, this is a similar grid system. So you've got the number of rows and columns, so you can move everything around, and you'll see that there's sort of 12 rows. I can put things in, or I can make things bigger and move them around. You can change this to suit your video and your overlay. And if you have made a change, you can just hit save here and it'll download this overlay configuration. And then next time you can just load it back in with the load button. There's some export settings. So by default, the export settings will match the video that you've loaded in. You might want to, for example, change the frame rate, because although in this case I've got a 30 frames per second log, a 30 frames per second video, I know that, for example, the log data is at a higher resolution, so I could increase the frame rate on the export. Of course, the video won't be any better, but the overlay will then be at the higher frame rate. And then there's some in and out times, and in fact, it's easier to set the start and end time just by watching the video. So I'll pick the point where I want it to start. A little bit too far, so let's just go back, wait for the green light to go off perhaps on the GPS. Yeah, somewhere there. So I'm going to just hit set start, and you'll see that automatically updates the start time. And then likewise, I could go to the end of the video, and then it looks like we've just stopped there, so I can hit set end. So that sort of, it takes the section of the video you want to export if you don't want to export all of it. You can see the little green highlighted section there. And then right at the bottom, we have a number of widgets which you can just drag onto the video here, and you can obviously move them about and things like that. So we've got widgets that are sort of on the default example grid. So there's the attitude gauge, and then they've got the ground speed graph. Just like temperature dashboard, if you double click on the widgets, you get this interface, and you can update the titles and things like that. Maybe we want to change the plot line color. So this is how you change what log item it's looking at. So it's a little string using a Mav Explorer style item description. So in this case, it's a GPS instance 0 with a speed. And then, for example, if we look at throttle, there's no instance, so it's just cton.throttleout. You can also set a scale factor. So in this case, the logged throttle is 0 to 1, but I wanted to display as a percentage here. So I've done a scale factor of 100 to get that to 0 to 100. So there's also, for example, the this is the subgrid widget in the background here. See if I can grab it. There we go. So for example, I know this vehicle actually doesn't have a current sensor, so let's delete this current item. And then I think I'd actually rather have these sort of on top of each other. So we'll go to 3 rows and 1 column like that. And I think that's a little bit nicer for this particular video. You'll sometimes when you've edited widgets, they don't actually update, but as soon as you like change the frame, they'll snap, they'll update themselves. You see it going through there, and maybe this was a bit nicer down in the corner, and we'll make the HUD a little bit smaller, and maybe just squeeze this graph in. So the graph, for example, I can set the time period. So maybe I only want 10 seconds either way. There we go. So that's what have we looked at? We've looked at the graph, we've looked at the attitude, we've looked at the subgrid. This value is these 3 values here. So this is an example JSON, an example JavaScript widget, and an example HTML widget. So much the same as the telemetry dashboard. You can double click here, go edit, and this is just the JavaScript that generates this widget. And you can also edit the, you can edit the form here. So you can bring in options that you might want to display the user without them having to come into this higher level editor. So that form is this form here. And you'll also notice that if I go edit on some of the examples, like this value widget, it's just a JavaScript widget that's filled in with some pre-populated data. So you can use these as sort of inspiration to write your own widgets if you like. And the HTML is exactly the same idea, but instead of JavaScript, you get a complete HTML page for the widget. So it's just a little bit more flexible. You have to do a little bit more of the hard work yourself, but you can do a few more things. So we'll just delete that for now. And then the last example widget is this timestamp widget. So it brings in, so in this case, it's the local time from the log, and there's some example formats here. So I might just go time since log start, so I can do total seconds like that. So that's time since the log started. Or maybe I want minutes and seconds, which I could do like this, whoops, like that, for example. And obviously you can change the color and various things. Again, this is just a JavaScript widget that's pre-populated. So that's, so here it's warning me, it says, hey, you've edited this widget, but you haven't downloaded it. So if I delete it, I will lose it. So, but that's okay, I was just messing around. You can download the widgets individually, so I could download this and then I could load it back in again, like that. You get a duplicate. And of course you can copy and delete widgets. Anyway, so that's basically the idea. Hopefully people can make up some nice items. So I think the only final step is to run an export. So it is quite slow because it's in browser. So for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to export 20 seconds. So we'll manually set the end time there. And then I'm just going to hit export. And you'll see the little percentage shows you the progress. And you'll see that the widgets are updating in the background as it renders out the overlay. The video itself does not update because it doesn't need to be re-rendered. It's just rendering the widgets on top. So yeah, we'll just let this finish and then we'll have a look. Okay, so the video is finished exporting, so it just turns up in your downloads. So let's have a look at it. So here it is. You can see the overlay on top of the video. Thing. Obviously, it was only 10 seconds. So yeah, obviously to export the sort of full length we originally wanted to do, that would probably take a couple of hours. As I say, it's not especially fast at the moment, I'm afraid. Anyway, hopefully some people find this interesting. Thank you.